Good morning, class. So we're going to talk about area and circumference today. This should be a review, but if not, it's a good thing to recap on it because we're going to talk about area circumference with circles. This is where knowing parts of a circle, identifying parts of a circle such as a radius or diameter is very important. And then we're going to progress from there. And this is attached on Google Classrooms. You can get this document. If you can't print it, that's fine. You can always write on a sheet of paper. But I will be expecting the interactive notebook to be updated when we return, which I'll send you a photo of that either today or sometime this week of it updated. All right, so area circumference. Now area, you don't have to draw this, but just so you understand, area is what you're finding the amount of space in the circle. I call it the pizza sauce. How much pizza sauce do I need to cover that entire pizza? And the formula, area equals pi r squared. So I'm going to do that first before we move on to the next one, because it says find the area for circles 1 through 4. So we're just finding areas for circles 1 through 4. All right, so what you need to do is notice area is pi r squared. The only thing we need to plug in into our formula to get the area is we need to know the radius. So I've got to ask myself, number one, am I given the radius? Well, notice 12 is off to the side, and it has the center to a point on the circle. So they gave me the radius. The radius is 12. So the radius is 12. So I can find the area. Area is, for pi, I'd like you to use 3.14, just in good measure with how the EOC works. I know it may not happen this year, but it's still good to be familiar, and it's on your formula sheet. So when you put it in the calculator, pi is more exact, but use 3.14 times the radius of 12 squared. So in my calculator, I would do 12 squared is 144 pi. So this would be the exact answer. 144 pi meters squared, because we are using the radius squared, that's two-dimensional, flat surface. It'd be 144 pi meters squared. Now, when you put it in your calculator, and this is using pi, my key that I have. So I guess it's okay to use pi or 3.14, especially with my key, but I'm going to use 3.14. So I would get, it doesn't say how to round, so I have some freedom, 452.16 meters squared. All right, so the amount of space in this circle, or the pizza sauce I can fill on this pizza dough, is 452.16.2 square meters. Now, if I look at number 2, what am I given? Well, 18 inches is in the center. See how it's right in the center with the circle? And it goes through the center. So they gave me diameter. And diameter is 2 radii. So a radius plus a radius gives me a diameter. So if the diameter is equal to 2 times the radius, well, how do I get the radius? I would divide by 2. So if the diameter is 18 and the diameter is 2 times the radius, if I divide by 2 on both sides, I see that the radius is 9. And I can double check. 9 plus 9 gives me back to 18. So now I can find the area. So area equals pi. We found our radius to be 9 squared, which gives us 81 pi. And 81 times 3.14 for pi, we get 254.34 inches squared, because this is two-dimensional, so it's squared. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is pause this video and try 3 and 4 on your own and see how it goes. So try out 3 and 4. All right, I hope you tried it. So number 3, you would get, they gave us the radius, so it's pi times 2.8 squared. I'm using 3.14, so if yours is close to mine, that means you use the pi button, which is perfectly fine. And we would get that the area is about 24.6 feet squared. Okay, number 4, I see they give me diameter. The number is at the center. So it'd be area equals pi. Well, the radius is half the diameter. So half of 35 is 17.5. And then you square it. So 17.5 squared times 3.14. I get 961.6 kilometers squared. Yes, on quizzes and tests, I will be picky about the label. Make sure you have the proper label. All right, so that is area. 1 through 4 was area. So that was the amount of pizza crust, or sorry, pizza sauce. And that was pi r squared. Circumference, well, that's the distance around the circle. Circumference is like perimeter of shapes, but we use a fancy word, circumference, which still means the distance around the circle. It's a perimeter. So to find the, I call it the length of the pizza crust, the length around, if I were to cut this in half and then stretch it out, what would the length be of the pizza crust? And that is C equals 2 pi r. And notice, what's 2 times the radius? What does 2 times the radius give me? Well, 2 times the radius is also diameter pi. So you can use either of these formulas, whichever one makes sense to you, or you know when to switch back and forth. So let's put this into action. So if we look at number 5, I see that they give me the radius. So that means circumference equals 2 pi, radius is 7. So 7 times 2 is 14 times 3.14. We get that the length of the pizza crust is about 43.96 millimeters, just millimeters. Notice how there's only one variable in r, or if you use diameter. There's one variable in the formula, so it's just millimeters. If I have radius squared, that's radius times radius, which is 2-dimensional, so then you would square it. Okay. Number 7, this is diameter. So you could, if you remember it, you could say, oh, that's the diameter, which is the same as diameter pi for circumference. Or if you say, okay, diameter is 58, well, half of 58 is 29, so the radius equals 29. So you could have also written it as 2 pi times 29. But notice 29 times 2 gets you still back to 58. So if I put that in my calculator, 58 times 3.14, we get 182.12. It doesn't specify how to round, so if you want to stick with the tenths place, hundredths place, that is fine. And it is 1-dimensional because it's a length using a ruler, so it'd be yards. Okay, so I want you to pause this video and then try 6 and 8 on your own. 6 and 8 on your own. All right, number 6. 6, they gave me radius, so I can use 2 pi r, 2 pi times 15.6, and I will get 97.96. So if you rounded to the tens place, that would technically round to 98.0 centimeters. But if you said 97.97, that's fine too. Number 8, they gave me diameter. Well, the diameter, I'm going to backtrack. The radius is half of 10.2. So our radius is 5.1. So circumference equals 2 pi. R we found is 5.1. Now if you like diameter pi, by all means, because notice 5.1 times 2 gets you back to 10.2. So if I do that times 3.14, we get 32.0 or 32.03. All right, so it's a matter of pizza sauce versus pizza crust. Am I given radius or diameter? Okay. So that is a refresher on that. Now, let's talk about finding radius or diameter. I'm going to go with 10 first. I'm going to work out 10 first with everybody. So 10, find the radius of a circle with a circumference of 21.99 feet. So I must need to use circumference for a reason to help me find radius. So my circumference formula is C equals 2 pi r. They say that the circumference is 21.99 feet. So in place of circumference, they now found this for us. We don't have to compute it. But I'm going to bring down my 2 pi r. Then it says find the radius. Well, look at that. Hot diggity dog. I see, once I plug everything in, I can get the radius by itself. 2 times pi times r, it's all multiplied. So to undo, to undo that, I can divide by 2 and then divide by pi. Now, if you do both at the same time, let's say you divide by 2 pi, make sure in your calculator that if you do both at one time, you do 21.99 divided by parentheses 2 pi, close parentheses, because of the order of operations that happens on your calculator. So this cancels. If I put this in my calculator, divided by parentheses, and I will actually have you use the pi button for this. We want to make it as close as possible. So do 2 times pi. So if you just want to stick with using pi versus knowing when to go back and forth, I will not penalize you on that. So by all means, if you want to stick with it, it is fine. So we get a radius of, if I round to the tenths place, a radius of 3.5. So now we're going backwards. Okay? So with this, I want you to try 9, but notice 9 says find diameter. So what you're going to do is find the radius first. If I find the radius, how do I get diameter? I double my radius. So it's the same process we just did, except now to find diameter, we would double our radius answer. So give that a try. Give it a try. Pause it and try. All right, so here it depends on what you choose to use. You could use 2 pi r like we did here. Perfectly fine. But since they gave me diameter, or want me to find diameter, I could use diameter pi instead. But you could use either one. Either one, I guarantee, will get you the same answer. So I'll just show both ways. C equals 2 pi r. So they gave me circumference, 65.97 equals diameter pi. And I'll carry it over here if you did it this way. Now if you use diameter pi, it's diameter times pi. So I just got to divide by pi on both sides. And I have what my diameter is right there. And 65.97 divided by pi. If I round it, it's going to be 21.0 actually. But let's check if you did it the other way. Make sure though, if you do it at the same time, divide by 2 and pi, you put parentheses in your calculator. And if I put that in my calculator, let's see, 6,597 divide, yep, see, I didn't put parentheses around it. I thought it looked kind of funky. 2 pi, there we go, 10.5. And notice if you did it this way, radius is 10.5, diameter is twice that, so 10.5 plus 10.5 still gets me to 21 for the diameter. Both ways work. Both ways work. Whichever one makes more sense to you. So, go to the back page. Let's see. I'm going to have you try 11 on your own for, actually, no, I'm going to go over this one. You'll see why I'm saying that. So find the radius of a circle with circumference of 35 pi. So they want us to find the radius, so C equals 2 pi r. The circumference is 35 pi equals 2 pi r. Now watch what happens. If I divide by pi first, my pi's cancel, but since this is 35 pi for circumference and I divide by pi, this cancels too. So now I'm left with 35 equals 2r, and half of 35, let's see, 15, 16, 17.5 if I'm not mistaken. 17.5 yards, and then you're done. Because I just wanted the radius. So if they give it to you in exact form, a number times pi, it's very nice because the pi is going to cancel. Okay, so let's talk about these other three, and there's a reason. If I look, it says find the radius of a circle. Sorry, making sure that you can see my paper. Find the radius of a circle with an area of 380.3 square inches. So now it's the same idea, but now they're giving us an area, so different formula. Pi r squared. So they gave me area, so I plug in 380.13 for area, bring down the rest. I will then divide by pi. So my radius squared, so 380.13 divided by pi. Let's see, we'll round. We round, we would get 120.999, which would be 121.0. Now I have radius squared. I want just radius. So the opposite of squaring, take the square root. So the square root of 121 is 11. And we have now found the radius. Okay, it's about working backwards. They're now giving us area and circumference instead of finding it. And then we're finding a different variable, a radius or diameter. Okay, so I want you to pause the video and try out 14. Again, pause the video and try out 14. All right, 14. Find the diameter of a circle with an area of 90.25 pi meters squared. So they're giving us area, so I'll put that in place of A. And the formula is pi r squared. They want diameter in the end, but the only thing I can solve for is r. It's not like circumference where you have two different formulas you can use. I have to find r first before diameter. So I'm going to divide by pi, and nicely, like I had said, if there's pi, they left it exact. Notice I'm dividing by pi, and they cancel. So then I have radius squared equals, let's see, what do we get? Get 90.25. I don't know why I was having a brain fart, because they canceled and just bring it down. I don't know why. Oh, feels like Monday. So, it cancels out. You bring down 90.25. The opposite of r squared is the square root. When I take the square root, I get 9.5. But they want diameter, so that means diameter equals 2 times the radius, which gives me a diameter of 19 meters. All right. Okay, last one, try 13, and then we'll do a few problems at the bottom. Try out 13. All right, 13, again, I see it says find diameter. It gives me the area, but it's not exact this time. So, the area is 615.75. It's area, so the formula is pi r squared. Divide by pi, and you get radius squared equals, so that divided by pi, we get 196. Take the square root of 196. The radius is 14. But we're not done. It says diameter. So actually, we double the radius, so 14 times 2. This is our final answer. Diameter is 28. Sorry you couldn't see that. There we go. Okay. All right. Now, working between formulas. Oh, this is going to be fun. And now you're probably moaning and groaning. But so far, we have learned about what is area and circumference in a circle. How do I find area and circumference? How do I find the radius or diameter of a circle when given its area or circumference? But now we're going to be using both formulas to find what we need. So for example, 15. Find the area of a circle with a circumference of 26 pi feet. Well, I got to find area, and the formula for area is pi r squared, but they gave me circumference, that's 2 pi r. So in order for me to even find area, I need the radius. Well, if I'm given the circumference, I can find the radius and then plug it in to find the area. So what I mean by that, it's going back to like what we had done on the front page. They gave me circumference, so circumference equals 2 pi r. I'm going to now find the radius. I'll circle, this is step 1. Divide by 2 pi, remember put it in, actually in this case this comes out nicely, but otherwise put it in parentheses. Pi divided by pi cancels. Half of 26 is 13. So now I have my radius. That was step 1. I found my radius because I need radius to even find my area. Okay, so I'm going to write over here. I'm not working on 16, but step 2. Now I can find the area, because it said find the area. Well, I needed to find the area by first having the radius. So using my radius, pi, a equals pi radius squared. 13 squared is 169. 169, we'll use the pi button this time. What number am I on? 15. So 169 times the pi button is 530.93 feet squared. So if I'm confusing you, if you want to stick with pi, stick with it. If you want to stick with 3.14, stick with it. I will accept both as being correct. I'm just basing off of the EOC where it says pi is about 3.14. But if you want to be more exact, more precise, I love it. Stick with pi. If you want to stick with the testing technique with the EOC style, you can use 3.14. I'll accept either one. Okay. So notice it's a step 2 process. You got to find the radius before you can find what they're asking you for in the formula. So let's try another one. I'm going to do, so we've already done 15. I'm going to do 18, and then I'm going to have you try 19. And then we'll reverse it and talk about how they give it flipped. So 18. Find the area of a circle with a circumference of 131.95. So I've got to use circumference to my advantage first. I'll write it over here. Step 1, circumference is 131.95. Circumference equals 2 pi r. I'm going to divide by 2 pi to get the radius by itself. It goes back to algebra. And if I do 131.95 divided by 2 pi, I get a radius of 21. So now I have what I need to now answer the final question. What is the area? Well, area is pi r squared. We found the radius to be 21. If you use the pi button, we will find that the area of the circle is a large number, 1,385.4 meters squared, because we're finding area. Okay, I should have done that too with number 15. That was feet squared, because we're finding the area, the amount of space in a two-dimensional figure. Okay, so I want you to try 19 on your own. Step 1, you need to find the radius before you can find what it's asking, because area and circumference involve radius. So we're going to need the radius before we can find the area. So try out 19. All right, so 19, find the area of the circle with a circumference of 18.84. So we have a circumference of 18.84 equals 2 pi r. If you divide by 2 pi to get the radius by itself, you get a radius of, how nice, 3. So then step 2, find the area. Well, area is pi r squared. And I have now, or we have now found the radius. So I have pi 3 squared. And if you do 3 squared is 9, 9 times the pi button, you would get that the area is about 28.3 yards squared. This is our final answer. We had to use circumference to our advantage to find the radius in order to plug in the radius to the area formula. And then we have our area. Okay? Same idea, except the ones that we skipped, you will notice it's reversed. So for example, number 16, now we're finding circumference of a circle, and now they're giving us area. Now they're giving us area. So I'm just going to erase this so I have this to work with. So step 1, we've got to find the radius in order to find circumference. That's why the area is helpful. Area is 289 pi, and area of a circle equals pi r squared. So to get my radius by itself, I divide by pi. How nice, the pi's cancel on both sides. Radius squared is 289. To get radius, you square root, and what you get is 13. Is that right? No, I'm on 16. 17. There we go. I'm tripping. All right, so the radius is 17. Now I'm going to find circumference. Circumference is 2 pi r. To find circumference, we do 2 times pi times the radius we needed to find. And if we do that, 17 times 2 is 34, times pi, we get 106.8 millimeters, because circumference is the distance around something. It's one-dimensional, finding the distance around. Okay, let's try one more, and then I'll have you try one on your own. So either one is good. So we'll work on 17, have you try 20. So it says find circumference of a circle with an area of 113.1 square inches. So I have to use the area formula to my advantage first. So the area equals pi r squared for a circle. Divide by pi, so that way I get r squared. Step closer. And 113, what was it, 113.1 divided by pi is 36. Oh, how convenient, because the square root of 36 is 6. So my radius is 6. Now I can find the circumference, because circumference, I need radius to find circumference. That's why we found it with area. That was given. So 2 pi, radius is 6. So 6 times 2 is 12. And then 12 times pi is 37.7 inches. This is our final answer. So it's a matter of, do they give me area to find radius? Do they give me circumference to find radius in order to find the opposite? So here they gave us area. I found the radius to find circumference. For the other ones, they gave us circumference. I found the radius in order to then find the area. Okay, so last thing, I want you to try 20 on your own. Give it a try. All right, hopefully you paused and tried it. Number 20, we're finding circumference, but they're giving us an area of a large number in square centimeters. So I have to use area to my advantage. So step 1, they gave me area, 1,809.56. And the formula for a circle's area is pi r squared. Divide by pi. Your radius squared is 576. How nice. To get the radius by itself, the opposite of squaring is square root. And the square root of 576 is 24. So now that I found the radius, now I can find the circumference. I use the area to my advantage to find the radius to now find circumference. So step 2, circumference is 2 pi r. 2 pi, we found the radius to be 24. 24 times 2 is 48. 48 times the pi button is about 150.8 centimeters. I'm finding circumference. If it said find the area, then it would be centimeters cubed. Okay, so where you got these notes from, your homework is also listed. And I just want to make a couple mentions really quick before I let you go. That, you heard that, that was my cat sighing because he's sleeping so well. So where's my black pen? There it is. On your homework, so it's not as confusing or less confusing, I want to make sure that you extend these segments, because these should actually be lines. I'm not sure why they didn't treat it as such. All right, so what I've just done on this picture, I want you to do the same on your homework page, and I feel that'll help you better identify. All right, and also on your homework, some of these, there may be more than one answer. I'm still looking for one example, but there are some of these that there are going to be multiple answers that I would accept as being correct. Okay, so your homework is to complete 1 through 16 by tomorrow, and I will say, what's that going to be, Tuesday? So tomorrow by 12 p.m. as usual. We'll stick to it being the usual. I don't want to change it up too much. All right, if there's any questions, Google Duo, send me a remind, send me a message, Google Classrooms. I'll be happy to help. All right, everybody, take care.